Hello and welcome to another edition of It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. I'm live from in the truck. This is another impromptu episode, so let's just get into it. All right, so first we're going to talk boxing, and I am very excited about this particular matchup between Sebastian Fundora and Keith One Time Thurman. They will be fighting on pay-per-view with per Amazon Prime. Now, this particular matchup, for people that actually know boxing, is an exciting one because you have an all-action style of Sebastian Fundora, but you also have, versus that, a very crafty Keith One Time Thurman. So this particular matchup features a southpaw, which is Fundora, and that just means right foot in front, left foot back, and against an orthodox fighter in Keith Thurman, which is, of course, left foot in front, right foot back. So each guy can actually turn the tide of the fight, just kind of depending on what the pace of that fight may be. Now, Sebastian Fundora is probably going to turn up the heat very quickly in this particular matchup. So I look for him to be able to just kind of jump out there and just try to see if he can overwhelm Keith Thurman early. For Thurman, what I think is he'll probably wind up using some of the tricks of the trade to kind of keep Sebastian Fundora thrown off balance. He may clinch. He may actually circle around the ring and move around. He may actually also get into some exchanges and then quickly exit as well. He's definitely going to do some things to actually frustrate Fundora and throw off his rhythm and timing. But I also think that if he does this properly, punching in between the flurries of Fundora is going to turn the tide of the fight. And depending on how accurately he lands, not how hard he hits him, how accurately he lands, Keith Thurman may actually upset Sebastian Fundora, who was already lost by a knockout, I think by the hands of Santillan, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that particular type of matchup is exciting for those particular reasons. Now, the winning game plan, of course, for Sebastian Fundora is going to be him just basically overwhelming Keith Thurman with punches and bunches, being able to get on the inside, give up his advantages, which is an 82-inch reach, and then he's also 6'5" or 6'6". So reach and height, he'll surrender that to actually fight inside. And he also mentions that he's more comfortable fighting inside because those inside punches rarely ever miss. So that is definitely something to look out for with Keith Thurman. What I would think is that, yes, while Sebastian Fundora can throw an overwhelming amount of punches and potentially drown Keith Thurman and get a TKO victory, I think that if Keith Thurman keeps his wits about him and fights in mid-range, which is basically like, it's good. Mid-range is basically like 8 to 10 inches away from your opponent. Close range is actually 6 inches or less on your opponent. So 6 inches or less is close. 8 to 10 inches is actually going to be mid-range, or I'm sorry, 8 inches to a foot is actually going to be mid-range, and then a foot plus, because depending on somebody's reach, is actually going to be long range. So I would actually look for Keith Thurman to stay in mid-range because Fundora is actually comfortable throwing in close range, and I would not chance long range with Fundora because that is something that he has actually been working and then has actually improved on. I would actually refer to the first Tim Tszyu fight, and then of course the Erickson Lubin fight. I would probably say maybe like in the mid rounds with that one, because mid to late rounds, Fundora and Lubin had actually got into like firefights, like in the later portions of the fight, when it had to actually end because of Lubin taking so much damage. But again, I definitely think that this would be a really, really fun matchup to actually watch, because you don't really know what's actually going to happen. And, I salute both men for getting out there and then fighting, but I also need to mention to PBC that this is not a pay-per-view fight, even though it's very interesting to us boxing enthusiasts. Now, some of us would be able to go ahead and pay the almost $80 to watch the fight, but if you're actually trying to bring people in, I don't think this is the way to do it. But I've been wrong, and of course I am not someone that's actually associated with the PBC, and I'm just speaking as a fan. So I'll get back to knowing my place or knowing my role here in just a bit. Now, also, there is another matchup coming, I believe, next weekend between Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder and then Derek War Chisora. Now, this should actually be a very good heavyweight bout, and you have the legendary one-punch stopping power of Deontay Wilder against an overwhelming force of Derek Chisora. Now, each of these men will be fighting their 50th fight. Now, of course, Chisora mentioned that this could be his last fight, and Deontay Wilder wants to be able to prove once again that he is an elite level fighter. Now, with Deontay Wilder, you're never really out of it because of that one punch stopping power. Now, what I would like to see from Wilder is a better body attack, especially to the midsection of Derek Chisora. And I would also like to see how much his jab and his left hook, which is a very sorely underestimated weapon in his arsenal, has actually developed with the coaching, I believe, of Eddie House. So I would love to see that. Or I'm sorry, it's Coach House. I think it might be Don House. Eddie House is a basketball player. Sorry. But yes, I would love to be able to see how his jab and then his left hook is actually developed. I think that will perfectly set up the right hand, and we shall see how effective that is going to be. In the meantime, Chisora, who is known for all-out action and has great durability, we'll see how he holds up against the one-punch stopping power of Deontay Wilder. And honestly, if Chisora is switched on and can withstand the punches of Wilder, I think that he may actually wind up getting a TKO if he is able to effectively overwhelm Wilder and, has him fighting constantly off the back foot. But we shall see. We shall definitely see. Very, very excited about that particular matchup. And, me being biased, I really do hope that the Black American champion actually pulls it off. But I would not be mad at Derek Chisora actually pulling out the victory himself to retire. So we will have to wait and see what results from that. Now, on to a little bit about my Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the NFL draft is coming up in less than a month. I definitely want to see or find out how big a priority is wide receiver at this point. Now, I've been out of the loop on my shows, but since my last actual show, we wound up picking up wide receiver Michael Pittman. We wound up actually picking up Rico Dowdle, and then we wound up picking up Jamel Dean, cornerback. We wound up picking up Jaquan Brisker from the Chicago Bears, who is actually a safety. And then we wound up picking up, we wound up picking up a reserve guard, I believe, from the who more recently I think played for the Cowboys. I definitely forgot his name. And then we picked up Travis Homer, who was a backup running back. Now that concerns me because we haven't had a chance to actually test out Johnson just yet. Oh my goodness. Caleb Johnson, I'm sorry. We haven't had a chance to really test out Caleb Johnson. You know, the more significant news with him was, of course, the botched fumble in the second game of the season against Seattle. And then we haven't heard much from him since. He's had a few carries and you know, has seen a little bit of playing time, but not that much. With the addition of Travis Homer, who is probably known for like special teams work more than he is actually running the football. Yeah, it doesn't bode well for Caleb, and I'm really hoping that he is able to really rebound this season. And to be quite honest with you, it's probably going to take an injury from either Daddle or Warren for him to actually see some significant playing time. While I'm on that subject about Rico Dowdle and, Jaylen Warren, who are going to share the backfield this season, a lot of people, and including myself, are praising the fact that we actually picked up a back like Rico Dowdle. Okay? Rico Dowdle is sorely underestimated, and he is a hard-nosed runner. And, you know, people with our association, people in our organization really can appreciate somebody like that. Which is what brings me to my point. We're praising Rico Dowdle for having 2 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. But the whole time Najee Harris was here, and yes, you're going to hear this from me. The whole time Najee Harris was here, you know, we put such limitations on him and felt like, oh my goodness, this is what he's supposed to do. Oh, if it wasn't for that 17th game, he wouldn't have those yards and blah, blah, blah. Najee had to do more with less. We did not have as good of an offensive line, than we do now. This particular line is a young and developing line, and it's inclining as far as like being able to work together and also execute plays. Najee Harris did not have that. At one point, he had a hodgepodge line with like 3 backups and then two shaky starters. I do not think, and of course I cannot, life is not fair, so I'm not going to say something is fair or not. It just is what it basically is. But I just find it really funny that the same things that people are actually praising Rico Dowdle for were the same things that they were knocking Najee Harris for. So, you know, again, Najee, thank you so much for the work that you did here in Pittsburgh. But, you know, again, we did have to move on. I hated that. I did a dedication show. I'm sure that you guys could probably look that up in the list of videos. But again, you know, we're praising one guy for the same thing that another guy did, and to be honest with you, he technically did it more consistently. And you know, we're over the moon about that. But you know, we had a guy that actually had 4 1,000-yard seasons, and we just let him go like it wasn't anything. Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. And plus, I don't think that we actually used Najee the way that we should have anyway. So, hopefully Najee heals up and actually shows the NFL, how good of a back he actually is. I know Hampton is actually in the backfield with them, and that's going to be the guy or whatnot. But maybe something happens and Najee's able to show the league what he's actually worth. So, again, salute to you, Najee Harris. And again, we definitely appreciated the real supporters of the Pittsburgh Steelers actually appreciated the work that you did. Now, I also want to make sure that I touch on the wide receiver situation. I still think that actually drafting a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds is imperative, despite the fact that we actually picked up Michael Pittman Jr. Now, Michael Pittman Jr. is known for being a very good route runner, and he's also a very good hands catcher as far as just being able to, catch the ball with his hands. He's very sure-handed, and then he's able to, make sure that he runs proper routes and is able to get the chains moving. You need that to complement a DK Metcalf. I totally get that. But we also need somebody that, and Michael Pittman Jr., I think, is about 6'4", so he's a big body receiver as well. What we may need, and this is just my opinion as a supporter of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is somebody that has a little bit of wiggle, can run routes, and is a good separator. And what I mean by that is you can actually get some separation, which just basically means that you can get some space in between you and the person that is actually supposed to be guarding you. Now, one name that actually comes to mind is CJ Concepcion, or KC Concepcion, excuse me. KC played for the Texas A&M Aggies, and I follow Texas football teams as far as college goes. Now, it's not to the degree to where I'm like, it's not to the degree of my Steelers to where I could just kind of break down play by play what they do, and then, how long they were on the roster, things of that nature. What I will say is that this gentleman is phenomenal at separating and getting space in between him and the defenders. He is also extremely gifted at punt and kick returning. He is also good after the catch naturally because of those particular qualities. So I would like to see us actually draft someone like that. But I do see that there are going to be needs at safety. And I do see that there are going to be needs at guard. Tackle is a debatable topic. I don't think that the jury should be out on Broderick Jones just yet. Gasp, right? I think that I honestly believe that Broderick needs a full season, and hopefully he will have a full season to actually be properly evaluated. Now, if he does well this particular season, I think that we're probably going to need to go ahead and give him the 5th-year extension so he can, so we can actually secure a good left tackle. Now, what I also believe is that you want to make sure that you have some sort of continuity with the offensive linemen, which just basically means that they play together real well. So you definitely want to make sure that you do that, not only to be able to run the ball, but also to be able to pass protect, which is very important. So I would definitely want to, see how that actually develops. And then having said that, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of getting tired of playing the waiting game with Aaron Rodgers. Like, oh, is he coming back? Is he not coming back? What are we gonna do? Blah blah blah. I really would like for this situation to be well known and resolved pretty soon. Like, I don't want us to actually have to wait until after the draft to find out whether or not Aaron Rodgers is actually coming. If he is, great. If he's not, then we're just going to play Will Howard and see how it goes. And I for one, am definitely excited to see what he may actually bring to the table. I am not, once again, I am not expecting Will Howard to magically turn into Ben Roethlisberger and wind up helping us hoist 2 Super Bowl trophies in his first 3 years. Like, that's just not, I'm sorry, 2 Super Bowl trophies in his first 5 to 6 years. So yeah, I definitely don't want to be putting that type of expectation on him. But I as long as I can see that he is able to make the correct reads and place the ball where it needs to be, and then, on occasion he's actually able to make plays himself, either using his size and agility, or just being able to read the field. And that would be learned from someone like Aaron Rodgers. And just being able to make plays just kind of based off of that. What he does when a play breaks down or doesn't go the way that he expects it to, what he'll actually do, or have the proper second reaction to something like that, is what I'm very curious about. But, again, I'm very excited about the possible future, but again, if Aaron Rodgers is coming back, he needs to make it known well before the draft. Like, honestly. Now, defensively, we did pick up, of course, Jaquan Brisker, but looking at what he actually does well, most of his good work is not out in space. It's actually closer to the line of scrimmage. So he is able to, he's definitely an effective run stopper. Short to possible, short passes, he's pretty good on that too. Mid-range to long passes, and what mid-range passes is like 10 to 12 yards. Long range is 15 or 15 plus. Those, I'm not so sure how good he is at center field. And again, this situation kind of brings me back to, hey, why did we cut Minkah in the first place? And I get the fact that, we have to have someone that can play closer to the line, which is supposed to be what Jalen Ramsey was bringing to us this past season, which, I mean, to be fair, he did do a good job. It's just, I would not continue to place him at safety. You want him at a big nickel corner, or sometimes, on some occasions, I would probably put him back out there on the edge, but not too much, obviously, because that Bengals game convinced me that, he just, that type of play consistently, that's just not going to happen with him at this particular stage in his career. So, again, pretty excited about the possibilities with that. And then, man, look, if Ohio State safety Caleb Downs, for whatever reason, falls in the draft like past 15, I think, and that's going to take a miracle, to be quite honest with you. If he falls, like, and I'll even go out and say, if he falls past 12, then the Steelers need to make a move to try to go get him. Like, that's, from what I've actually seen, that guy, if he's not anything else, he's going to be a good free safety. This guy looks like he could be a generational free safety. Now, I'm not going to put the Ed Reed crown on him or anything else like that. I'm definitely not going to say that he's Troy Polamalu. I ain't going to say that either. But this guy is definitely very good, and he is worth reaching up for if he's available past 12. So Look for Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State. I think he's probably going to leave like in the top 10. Somebody's going to get him. But he's just that good. If he falls for whatever reason, the Steelers need to make it their business to go get him. So, yeah, definitely that. And then, of course, this receiver class is actually pretty deep too. So I wouldn't too much worry if we're not going to draft somebody in the first round. There's definitely going to be some talent in the second round. Like I mentioned, I think KC Concepcion can fall in the second round. Now, we may have to actually trade up to go get him in the second round, but I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. But yeah, very, very excited about those particular possibilities. Yeah. And then, of course, defensively, we could be looking at linebacker. I know the Texas Tech linebacker was pretty good, and then you've got one of the Styles brothers, Sonny Styles, which is basically, man, he went to the combine and just turned it out. So I don't see him lasting very long either. But if the Steelers get a chance to get him and he falls out of like the top 10, to be honest with you, if he falls out of top 10, I would not be surprised if the Steelers trade up to get him. We got Patrick Queen, but his contract, I think, is probably going to be up after this coming season. And if we're still searching for answers at middle linebacker, then we might wind up picking him up. So, or Sonny Styles up, rather. If by some miracle, and I mean by some miracle, he falls out of the top 10. So, I probably look for that too. But, I'm very, very excited about these Pittsburgh Steelers, and again, these particular fights that are actually happening pretty soon. I think the draft is going to be it's usually in late April, so I'll get the date later on when I do another show. But very, very excited to report on those particular types of things, and just very happy to be back here with you guys. All right, that is going to do it for me. And I definitely appreciate the love that y'all have actually shown. And more importantly, I appreciate your patience. And shout outs to my brothers from the LDBC. I'm running a little bit long, so I can't just do all the names. And then when you do names, you definitely going to forget somebody. So much love to my brothers from the LDBC. My brothers and sisters from the LDBC. I'm sorry. And thank you all so much for your support. And to the rest of you all that are supporting me, I definitely appreciate you as well. All right, this is another edition of It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.